Okay, so here we are at the starting dock. This is where we're going to be launching from as the night event gets going. Obviously, before we can go out there and do what we got to do, we've got a lot of equipment we've got to put on, so let me give you a quick run through about all the gear and the protective. These are the skis. They're 90 inches long, about 7.5 inches wide, weigh about 8.5 pounds. You can see the tips are quite wide. These are a lot bigger than the skis you might use if you're out on the river or whatever, and we want that aerodynamic surface area to help keep us in the air. You can see the fin on the bottom is what we call a speed profile fin. It's very short, not very deep in the water, but it's long for extra speed. These are the bindings that we use. They're all rubber, they're extremely tight, and they're extremely stiff. So the bindings, in fact, are so tight that even when they're wet, we can't get them on without common dish soap. So you'll see all the jumpers are going to soap up their bindings and slam their feet in. We're going to put them in and wash that soap back out. In jumping, it's a full commitment sport, so we're bound into these things. They do not release, and we just take the chance on the injuries. 2 feet wide. Next piece of equipment here is what we call the jumpsuit. Looks like a standard wetsuit, but it's actually special in that it has padding in here, in between the layers of foam. They're special here to protect the ribs. We have a special back pad which helps protect the spine. One here that goes across to protect the kidneys. And my favorite, the bum pad for those really hard landings. And the purpose of this basically is not only to protect us on impact, but if the jumper gets knocked out, it's completely out cold, it'll float us, keep us up on top of the surface until the safety guys can get to us. Okay, next piece of equipment is what we call the sling. And this goes around our waist, it goes on top of the jumpsuit, and you're gonna see us, we're gonna really crank it down tight, kind of like the bull riders do with their the rope, to really get that hand locked in. And what you'll see us do is, as we leave the dock, you're gonna see us put our right arm in this sling. And what that does is it creates the load that we create as we're cutting to the jump. We want that to come from our hips so that we can stay balanced. If I don't have my arm in that sling, the pull comes from my chest, pulls me down, and I'll in fact be much more likely to crash. So the sling is not only a safety device, but it helps us create a lot more pressure and load on the boat, which means more speed, more acceleration off the top of the ramp. Next is the what we call the speed suit, and you've probably seen something similar to this in snow skiing, but these are actually a little bit different in that they don't breathe at all. There's no air can pass through that material. And we use it for 2 reasons. Primarily, speed. This is for aerodynamic purposes. This is to help us create as much speed and keep as much speed as we're flying through the air. But then also, because of the extremely low drag coefficient, when we hit the water in a bad situation, if we crash, we want to hit the water and skip, not hit the water and stick. And so the very low drag coefficient in the suits helps us skip and hopefully not injure our knees, ankles, and hips. The gloves and the handle, and these obviously they work together. You've got a rubber grip on the handle that actually, when it gets wet, actually gets tackier and stickier, and these gloves are made special to go along with that. And without these, we couldn't hold on to all the pressure and load that gets created through the rope that's connected to the boat. So the more gas we get, the more pressure we're going to feel through our hands and have to hang on to, so we've got to have these special gloves and handles. Finally, the old brain bucket. This is the most important piece of equipment out there. It keeps us safe. It's got special padding to help us on the water impact, keep us from getting concussions. You can see that this baby here is fairly new, has not been beaten up yet, so hopefully we'll get out of this weekend without adding any more scratches or dents. So now we're in the boat and we're going to take off and try to give you a skier's point of view. So hit it, Ian. For a tournament like the London Night Jump, we bring in special drivers that are accustomed to jumpers of the top level. So this weekend we've got Ian Campbell, and Vince is going to pull us in the night. He's a local boy. So these guys are professionals. This is where the crowd gets into it. They're yelling, they're screaming, we're getting fired up, we're really excited. It's kind of you'll see us, we're going to be bouncing around, getting our feet really set in those really tight bindings that we had to use the soap to get into. We pass the jump, you're going to see us all turn around, get a look at the ramp, get a picture in our head of what it's going to feel like. As we come to this end of the lake, it actually gets a lot darker. And at this point in time, we're trying to look at the water and try to not look into any lights because we don't want our pupils to dilate and deal with, it'll make it a lot easier to see in the dark if we're already in the dark. As we get to this end of the lake, you can see the trees run right up on the edge of the water. And they're so close, the skiers are going to be so close to those trees that we have to put glow sticks hanging out of them. And as Ian makes this final approach and we start to turn to go back into the course, the jumpers, we're going to get outside the wakes and we're going to go right towards those glow sticks. And you can see this branch right here is old Betty. We get right up on Betty. Ian accelerates. We're going to pull out to the 600. The 600 is a buoy that's 600 feet away from the ramp. It's a timing buoy. At this time, Ian hits it. We pull over here to the right, and we get this is the critical part of the jump. We're going to get extremely wide, free of the boat. We're going to slow down to about 20 miles an hour. As Ian starts the gas, we're ripping across, boom, off the ramp. We're building, peak, landing. Okay, so here we are on the jump ramp. This is the launch pad, if you will, for the jumpers as we've made that final approach. The ramp is 14 feet wide, 22 feet long. It's an all-steel platform underneath. This is fiberglass. So we put a thin layer of wax, kind of like what you would put on the bottom of a snow ski to make the snow skis faster. We do the same thing on the surface. And during the competition, you'll see we have water running over that. And that water creates a thin layer between the wax and the skis for an ultra-fast kind of a launch platform, if you will. So as we've set up over here, we've slowed down to 20 miles an hour, we bring our approach in, and it's all about the timing. We want to hit the bottom of the jump right here about 2 feet from the corner. If we're too late, we hit the side, and it's bad. If we're too early, it's just not going to be a good jump. So it's all about hitting here at this 2-foot mark. The impact is very violent. It's going to fold us over. You'll see our head and our chest is going to drop, and about the 3/4 point mark right here, we're going to be picking everything up, everything we've got, launching it down the lake, hopefully 70 meters through the air, and the winning jump.